Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, E-Dog here, back for some more commentary, but first a couple of announcements. Now, you may have noticed lately my reviews have slowed down quite a bit. In fact, I only did 2 last month, and I'm not even sure where I stand as far as this month goes. The reason for that is not because I don't want to be doing these videos, but as of late, there haven't been a whole lot of games that I really was interested in looking at. I'm trying to focus more on quality over quantity with my reviews. If I see a game that I have not a lot to say about, chances are I'm just not going to bother making a review just for the hell of it. So that's one thing. And another issue I've had lately is I have had some money troubles as of late, but I have managed to get them straightened out over the past few months, which is another reason I haven't been playing that many games, because I couldn't afford them. So just so you know, expect a few more games up in the future, and maybe a special little side project experiment I've also got going. So, till then, I'm making this video, as I'm sure you can tell looking at the title or looking at the screen, is about some of my more popular reviews, my Fallout New Vegas DLCs. So without further ado, let's jump right into this thing and look at my first DLC review, Dead Money. Alright, Dead Money, not only one of my very first reviews ever, but also my first DLC review. The reason I decided to do a DLC on this game was because I already knew I was going to get all the New Vegas DLCs as it was. Not to mention, I didn't really notice a whole lot of other people doing DLCs at the time, so I figured I might as well give it a shot. Also, that whole "it's a trap" thing I threw in there, yeah, I try to stray away from the obvious jokes if you've noticed, but, you know, at that point I couldn't resist. It was just too obvious. I had to use the joke. So, this DLC compared to the other Fallout New Vegas DLCs, how does it stack up? I might have to call it the weakest one. Not from a storyline perspective, mind you, I actually really enjoyed that part. The problem is, once you leave the area with the Sierra Madre Casino and head back to the Wasteland, if you didn't get any of the weapons, you can't go back to get them. If you left any of the gold in the vault, you can't go back and get it. That is a really big problem, not being able to go back to the area once you've left. Not to mention, the enemies in this DLC are ridiculously hard. They are way overpowered. And, well, if you have the other DLCs, you can get yourself overpowered as well, but as a first DLC, it was ridiculously tough to go through this area and fight all these ghost people. Now, something else you notice in this review is the song I'm using. I usually tend to use music from the game, but at the time I couldn't think of any from New Vegas that I could use with this that would really be appropriate. Plus, I had already used, in my opinion, the 2 best songs from the game in my review of the game itself. So, I use House of the Rising Sun by The Animals for this review. Why is that? Well, here's the way I looked at it. This song plays in the movie Casino. This DLC is about a casino. Yeah, pretty big leap in my mind, but you know what? It worked. I think it tied the DLC together. Now, just because I think this is the weakest of the DLCs doesn't mean it's bad at all. Despite the 2 flaws of it, you know, being kind of difficult and you can't go back, it is really fun. And the weapons that you do manage to get out of the Sierra Madre Casino are awesome. I mean, I never would have guessed you'd be able to get a BAR in this game, which, actually, in the next DLC, you get a Thompson assault rifle, which is even cooler. You know, it's amazing looking back on these old reviews I've done and just listening to my own voice. Now, it's always weird when you hear your own voice, because you never really know what you fully sound like. But this was only a little over 2 years ago, and I sound just really, really different. Although, to be fair, I didn't have a $150 microphone, so... But, all in all, I was really happy with how that turned out. So let's move on to Honest Hearts, shall we? Alright, New Vegas DLC number 2, Honest Hearts. This, I would have to say, is my favorite DLC. Most people would give it to Old World Blues, and don't get me wrong, I do like that DLC, which I'll get into in a minute. But I don't know, this DLC was just my favorite. I love the new area, I love the storyline, the new weapons and armor they give you are awesome. It's just really cool to see this all new environment in a video game in which you're mostly in the desert. So you go from the desert to Utah, I believe it was. Yeah, Zion National Park. So you get to go to Utah, which actually you get to see a lot more vegetation, and heck, it even rains in this DLC. That's something that never happened in any of the Fallout games I'd played. So that in itself, such a small thing, was just really cool to see. But heck, even the enemies are pretty cool in this DLC. Now, a lot of them aren't that unique. For instance, a lot of them are just like giant Yao Guai, giant Cazadors, and tribal, and you have to fight off this tribe, which is essentially just reskinned raiders. But, now for what's coming up. Now, when I say Joshua is a mysterious burned man and put wink on the screen, I was kinda concerned about that because that's almost spoiler territory. And, well, spoilers now if you haven't played the game, but there's this urban legend in Fallout New Vegas about mysterious burned man. Supposedly he was a legate for Caesar's legion who was set on fire and thrown into the Grand Canyon. Or I'm sorry, thrown off the Hoover Dam, not the Grand Canyon, wow. And you actually meet him in this game. He is in fact alive. And I was initially concerned that that would be spoilers, but then I realized that the posters for this game all show his face, so I think I could roll with it. But this review was also a pretty big learning experience for me as well. I realized that my audio editing had not been very good in quite a few of my early videos, and actually some of my recent videos, they're not too good either, but it was then I realized that the laptop that I had been using, at that time anyway, had absolutely horrible speakers, basically to the point where I would never know the proper volume for anything. I would turn the volume way up because I couldn't hear it off of my speakers. Then I realized it's deafeningly loud on everyone else's speakers. So what I've been doing since then is just using headphones to gauge the proper audio, which is really what anyone should do in this line of work. So yeah, it was from somebody commenting saying the music was drowning out my voice a little bit, and then I really listened to it and found that out. But all in all, this DLC, definitely my favorite. Great new weapons, cool new armor, cool new skills. I really like the new storyline, and yeah, that's about all I've got to say on that.
Till next time, this has been E-Dog, giving reviews from the heart. Honestly. See you next time.
And of course, I had to end it on my cheesy one-liner, giving reviews from the heart, honestly. Alright, with that out of the way, let's take a look at my next DLC with World Blues. See you there. Now, this may not be my personal favorite from the New Vegas DLCs, but it is a very, very good DLC, and not to mention, it could very well be one of my best reviews. When I released this, I got extremely great praise for it. A lot of people really, really enjoyed it. And I think the reason for that was I was just having a lot of fun with it when I was reviewing it. And why not? It's a really fun DLC. It is definitely the funniest of all the DLCs for New Vegas. The humor is absolutely amazing, and it's very reminiscent of the early Fallout games. I mean, heck, you have sentient appliances in your hub, a maniacal toaster, a robot that is compulsively obsessed with collecting cups, and there's even a segment in which you have an argument with your own brain. That is just absolutely amazing. But as far as the storyline itself goes, well, keeping with the humor, you're kidnapped and sent to this giant scientific research center called the Big Empty, and you have your spine, brain, and I believe heart removed and replaced with robotic parts. It is your goal to do the bidding of these intelligences that are of people that were saved before the war. They want you to destroy their rival scientist who has a giant robotic scorpion. It is so entirely loopy. But onto the gameplay at hand. The weapons you get in this DLC are really cool. A whole bunch of really cool sci-fi stuff. You have a machine gun with a brain of a dog. You get to get ray guns. Oh, what else? You get an antenna you can beat people with. That's always fun. And, moving on to the armors you can get this new prototype stealth armor. Now, it's nowhere near as good as the Chinese stealth armor from the Fallout 3, but that thing was kind of cheating anyway, especially if you had 100 stealth. But onto the problems I had with it. Firstly, the area is really not that big. Now, there's a lot of exploration you can do in it, especially inside of the buildings, but I don't know. I've never really one for exploring the inside of buildings very much. I really like the huge open world new environments they can come up with. Aside from that, a lot of the side missions are the exact same thing. You just go somewhere, get an item, bring it back to your hub, upgrade your hub, rinse, lather, repeat. But, oh, something I just remembered, one of the coolest aspects of the game is you can reset your perks. If you didn't like the perks you started off with in New Vegas, you don't necessarily need to start a whole new game over. You can just reset the perks that you wanted to use. Not to mention, it adds new perks. But just keep in mind, you know, you can only do it once. And as you just saw in this video, I of course had to show off the maniacal toaster. Because that's something that just sounds so crazy. You probably wouldn't believe me unless I showed it to you. But overall, yeah, this is a very good DLC. If you have Fallout New Vegas or plan on getting it, this is one of the DLCs I would absolutely recommend, along with Honest Hearts. But there you have it, my review of the third, wow, that thing's huge, the third DLC for Fallout New Vegas Old World Blues. Overall, I was really happy with how the video came out, as I still believe it is definitely one of my better reviews. So yeah, if you can check this DLC or that video out, wink, I would definitely recommend it. Yes, I make reviews for the Old World and the New World, and the present world. Alright, now let's move on to the final New Vegas DLC, Lonesome Road. Alright, the final DLC for Fallout New Vegas. If I were to rank these DLCs in order from best to worst, I'd say Honest Hearts, Old World Blues, Lonesome Road, and Dead Money. Lonesome Road, putting it under Old World Blues and Honest Hearts, it doesn't mean necessarily it's bad, because it really isn't. The thing is, all of these DLCs, by themselves, are actually pretty damn good. But the reason this one, I'd have to give it a lower rating is because the storyline, well yeah, first off the storyline, it's kind of weird that they would attempt to continue upon the main storyline of New Vegas in the final DLC and give your character a backstory, a character which has no personality unless you give it to him, a character that never speaks, and you know nothing about his backstory anyway, aside from him being a courier. That was always really weird to me. And the backstory they give you is interesting enough, I suppose, but I don't know, it always struck me as awkward. The only other real problem I can find with it is, once you do finish this DLC and finish this storyline, it doesn't really feel like anything was really resolved, at least not in my opinion. As soon as it was over, I just kind of felt like, oh, well, it's over. I guess I'm just gonna gather some weapons and leave. I just didn't much care for the storyline as a whole, I guess is what I'm saying. But what really did work about this DLC was the new enemies, who were tough but not unfairly hard, unlike the enemies in Dead Money. And the weapons you get, which are awesome. You get a rocket launcher as opposed to your missile launcher, and these rockets glow red and have massive explosions. this minigun, shoulder-mounted machine gun, as you can see here, which is essentially a minigun. And heck, you even get a staff with a bald eagle on top of it to bludgeon people with. But of course, along with these guys, you get these little lurkers named tunnelers here. And of course, new types of harder death claws. But at least you don't have to fight them. Now, as you hear here, wow. As you can hear at this part in the video, and as you can see, I just got thrown off a bridge. As you can hear, the music I'm using in this right now is Dear Hearts and Gentle People by Bob Crosby. Some of you may know this was the music that was used for the E3 trailer of Fallout 3, but was not put in the game. Why am I using Fallout 3 music? Well, prototypical Fallout 3 music in a DLC for Fallout New Vegas? Because I had completely run out of songs to use for these DLCs. Not that New Vegas doesn't have a big soundtrack, it just doesn't have a lot of songs I really like. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna throw in this song. I really like it anyway. So, what the hell. And now as you can see here, the point I'm making, you get this flare gun. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it causes enemies that are classified as abominations to run away from you. Death claws count as abominations. So, if you come across a death claw and have that weapon on you, you should definitely use it. But something really cool about this DLC is, by the end of it, you have the chance to launch a nuke somewhere. Now, you could launch it on New Vegas, you could launch it at the NCR base, you could launch it onto Caesar's Legion, and I think there were a couple more choices. So, whatever choice you make will affect the Mojave Wasteland, as you see here. Bombs away, motherfuckers. I myself decided to use it against Caesar's Legion because I decided to ally with the NCR at that point. Now, I had a little trouble in this DLC at first. I believe, the max level for the time, so yeah, level 45 when I decided to go into this DLC, which means that the enemies automatically level themselves up with me to make it even, quote-unquote. And of course, I had to make the quote there that if you go in without good weapons and armor, you're gonna die a lot. Hi, Lord Cat. So, in conclusion, this DLC, not horrible. I'd recommend it if you have the game, but it wouldn't be my first choice for looking at a DLC. But, obviously, you have a mind of your own. I'm only making suggestions here. So, this ends my look at the Fallout New Vegas DLCs. And I had a lot of fun doing this. I love looking at DLCs. It's just so great that I can come up with an entire full review on just a couple of hours of gameplay. Man, what a powerful ending that was. So thanks for watching, everyone, as I take a look back at some of my earlier works of the Fallout New Vegas DLCs. So until we meet again, this has been E-Dog saying, DLCs come and DLCs go. But war never changes.
As though there were no tomorrow. Take me